Hello, everybody. Jeff Gayduk from Leisure Group Travel, and I'm joined this morning by Kate Scopetti from Mars and Company. How are you doing today, Kate?
Quite well, thank you, Jeff. How about yourself?
Well, we're hanging in there. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk with you today. It's been a little while since I've seen you in person, as we're saying to all of our friends in the industry. So virtually, I love the fireplace in the background. That's a really nice touch. Not everybody can claim that in their office.
Well, we don't need it to keep us warm right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, Kate, for those that are not familiar with your organization, can you give just a brief rundown of what you do in the markets you serve?
Sure. The parent company, Mars, was started as a classic receptive for the DC area, Mid-Atlantic Receptive Services. Quite a mouthful, so we eventually kind of morphed that into Mars and Companies. That company started in 1997. I started that company, and it became, grew pretty rapidly. Had a bleep around 9/11, but other than that, it's been growing steadily. And our clients just asked us to do more areas. I diversified after 9/11 because DC, nobody was coming to DC, and I had to get some cash flow. So we diversified, and then when the market came back, we were that much stronger because we had other destinations. And so we started to kind of change the company into a wholesaler for other tour operators. So our client base is primarily the travel industry, although we have some sub companies that are B2C companies. We have a soccer tour company and a student tour company and a performance student company.
Okay, good. So one of the things that I've noticed in just tracking what's happening in the industry is that throughout this process, you guys have been very strong and steady, ongoing series of promotions. How do you keep the faith? Because obviously from a day-to-day basis, things aren't great, but you seem to be focused towards what's next.
Well, I have the good fortune of being born with an optimistic and outlook on life. I don't like feeling down, so I look for ways to keep not only myself positive, but keep others around me positive. I know that out of these types of challenges come great success, and that's where a lot of creativity happens. So we were always complaining how time poor we were because we were always chasing our tails. We were so busy. We ran about 300 to 350 custom tour programs a year. So it was very difficult for us to regroup and get, a lot of product development done that I knew I wanted to get done. We just didn't have the time to get there. So we're using this time to educate our client base. As you've mentioned, we're doing a lot of very aggressive marketing to kind of keep everybody aware of what we're doing, keep them positive, because I know that when the market does come back, which I expect it to be sometime next year, maybe the latter half of next year, but when it does come back, the hope is that all of our colleagues and friends in the industry will be ready to handle the pent-up demand. Some of them might not be able to because of their downsizing, and they might not be able to come back so quickly. And so the hope is that we'll be able to come out of this as a leader and very strong when this is all over,
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, there definitely will be some pent-up demand. So I think you're
Yeah.
definitely right on that. Of the tour products that you're putting out, what are groups showing interest in right now?
Some people, we're booking fairly strong for the spring. It remains to be seen how much of that will come to fruition. But there's demand for that, though, especially our cherry blossom program and our tattoo program, things of that nature. We're selling a lot of our Southern Porches product, which is a Charleston, Beaufort, Savannah area, coastal Georgia and South Carolina. And we're selling a lot to our clients that are like within a day's radius, a lot of our products that are about 3-night, 4-day programming. But we're getting on the phones and trying to help people with some sort of comfort level, and try to get them, like, if they don't book things now, when it comes back, they're not going to be able to recoup. So
Exactly. Yep.
yeah, there's no risk of with us, because we're so flexible with the clients. There's no risk with us other than if we have a particular subcontractor that excuse me, that we can't negotiate the terms for an easier cancellation policy, then we let the client either accept that if they want to take that on, or we reject it and move on to a different partner.
Sure.
So, there's no risk in marketing the products other than whatever they're going to spend in marketing it, which probably is primarily online at this point.
It is, yeah, and I think you're smart in that people need something to look forward to. They have to have a future out in front of them, and it could be that trip that carries them through otherwise difficult times. So I certainly appreciate what you guys are doing in keeping the spirit alive. Do you see different protocols on tour as you reboot operations, load factor sizes, getting in and out of places? Logistically, have you prepared yet for the onboard experience, or are we still a little bit new in that process?
We're preparing for it. We haven't been experienced in it because our first tour runs in September. The load factor is lower. It's 25, and it's a big tour. It's going to Montana. What we're experiencing is the the myriad of difficulties of operating the tours during COVID. So this will be our first time, and we've been working through it now for about 2 months, working with all the various suppliers, and of course educating our client as well that we have to all be flexible during this particular time, because everything's in a state of flux, and anything could change at any time. I think we'll know more about it we're doing the obvious things, following the masking protocol, educating everyone on what the airport requirements are, what the airline requirements are. We're getting the hotels cleanliness programming, and so that people at least know what to expect, and what safety level they can expect as well, in terms of what all the various locations are doing to accommodate the safety needs that we all have right now.
I would have to think that makes the customer feel good, though, knowing that in advance and being forewarned, so they have an understanding and expectation of what the journey is going to be like. But
yeah,
boy, Montana's a big trip, so congratulations on that.
Yeah.
These
days, a lot of outdoor space, except for on the plane. That'll be a little bit tight, but
So good. So I'm glad that's coming together nicely. I'll look forward to seeing how that trip materializes. One of the pivots that I saw you made was towards the performance market during this, as a dedicated unit. Now, I don't know of any business that's been harmed as bad as the student travel marketplace, where they really lost the spring season, and as schools are struggling with how to get back in the classroom this fall, what's the future of student travel? So maybe talk about that a little bit, not only what you're doing, but how does that sector of the industry rebound from your perspective?
Well, we'll really know more about that in another week, when the teachers are back in, and we're able to have long conversations with them. But our director of performing arts, Andy Gakoski, has been working with and having discussions. And of course, they can't give us any answers until their administrations have answers. And the administrations, as we all can see on the news every day, are waffling because there's just, everything is new. There's no real guidance or direction for anyone yet. So we felt it's really important to stay connected. We're doing a lot of social media, a lot of e-blasting that's more towards educating them and that keeping them connected to the art world. And we do have a festival in March, and we have not canceled it. We have morphed it into an ensembles, small groups, where we can space them, and also local, so that we are engaged with the client base, offering something that the students can keep active in the arts, and hopefully build on that when this is all over. We are booking some groups for student groups. They're not performance-based groups, but they're more in May and June. They're pushing them later into the spring. Now, of course, they don't yet know what their administrations are going to say. They knew they wanted to have the program and went ahead and booked it. So, everything remains to be seen yet. We did hear from one of our performance groups last week that there are no tours for that district in 21. So there might, I don't really expect a lot in 21. I do, maybe in the fall, there might be an uptick for those that weren't able to travel in the spring. So in the fall school season of 21, I'm much more optimistic about that.
That's an interesting point. So perhaps we'll see a shift in the traditional student market from April, May into September, October, obviously,
Right.
based on things clearing. That would be important because travel is such a fundamental benefit for children, just to see different cultures and how the world operates outside of their neighborhood and their school districts. So, anything
Right.
we can do to carry that forward. But I fear for the market short term, just based on what we've seen. And again, schools are just a mess right now, admittedly. They're
Yeah.
trying to figure out things, and travel is probably the last thing on their mind.
Right.
So the performance unit, under normal times, you expect to bring in groups to locations and do competitive based festivals. Is that the goal for Go
Well, we
Performing?
do those, as well as just independent tours for bands or groups that are traveling. We set up our Andy is a maestro, so he's a clinician, so he can set up a workshop basically anywhere for any group if they want to keep it smaller and not have to go to a big event. We can do things on a much smaller scale for any group, basically. So hopefully that will also be helpful to us when we come back together finally.
Exactly. So another one of the hats, take your performance hat off,
Yeah.
that you wear is your involvement in the Spotlight Trade Show Network with
Right.
our friend Sue Arco. Obviously, this is no time to be running a trade show. In-person trade show. So your fall event has been canceled. What are your plans going forward for Spotlight 2021, 2022, and try to re-energize that face-to-face meeting in the travel industry?
Well, we are going to have a virtual format this year. So we rescheduled 2021. We rescheduled 2020 into 2022 because we had already decided on Myrtle Beach in 21. So 22 would now go back to DC and Fairfax as it was going to be this year. But we moved to virtual format. We're going to have some speakers. It'll just be a shortened program, like about a day. And we decided not to charge anything for it. We want to just keep people connected and engaged with what we're all going through, and motivated. Our guest speakers are going to be very motivational. So I everyone will enjoy that very much. We chose Myrtle Beach next year because you've probably seen some of the marketing. We have a Mars South product now that we're working pretty heavily on. And so we wanted to involve more southern, eastern, southern, southeast destinations. And Myrtle Beach has always been a great partner. So we're going to host it in Myrtle Beach next year. And we've kind of morphed it into Spotlight East and Spotlight West, because we wanted to incorporate more of our colleagues and partners in the destinations that we already serve. Because Sue, of course, at Free Spirit serves a tremendous amount of the Western area. And of course, we serve pretty much everything on the East. So we will look forward to moving that around and educating our client base on different destinations that we're able to provide.
Well, good. Well, I'll look forward to that show in person again in 2021. And I think it's commendable that you're doing the virtual free option for people to keep the spirit alive, because it's an undertaking for sure. And everybody has a lot of invested time and finances into that. So that sort of give back to the industry, I think, is important during these time periods. So really appreciate your leadership. Final question here, somewhat tongue in cheek. So the company Mars, any rumor that you have some sort of like Mars trips planned, or any sort of exclusive rights to that at all once that opens up as a destination? Or
we take trips to Mars all the time. So we actually, funny you should say that. Several years ago, I can't remember, it was quite a while ago, we decided to have a Martian party in the summer, and after the peak season in DC when everybody is exhausted. And we invited a lot of our, colleague partners, suppliers. We had a motor coach pick them up in DC and bring them out here. And we encouraged everybody to dress up in their favorite Martian outfits. So I had a very bright green leotards, and like it was very outlandish. And I had these Martian glasses on and antennae. And I was standing out in front of Pentagon City Mall in Crystal City because they had to farm out the coach, and we had already told everybody what coach to look for. And of course, there's maybe 20 buses in front of Pentagon City Mall at any moment. So I was there to direct people, and a man came up to me and said, in a very serious voice, said, can you tell me where I can get some water, like a 7-Eleven shop? And I said, and he said, he just looked at me, no smile, no nothing. So I said, okay, go down here like a block.
Well, it's his fault for approaching somebody who was dressed like that. You have to look what you're asking for. So.
Oh, it's really funny.
Well, it's great to talk to a pioneer in space tourism today. So I appreciate that. If people want more information about the company and how to get involved, how do they best reach out to you guys?
Sure, they can email Mars, M-A-R-S, at, like the planet, Mars, at takeafuntrip.com. Or they can give us a call at 540-869-1864, and I'm at extension 116.
Awesome. Well, Kate, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today and giving us an update on what you're doing. Look forward to future conversations.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Bye.